If you've ever said, "This is the last time," and still went back, your brain is running a powerful hidden loop. Today, we are going to look at the psychological loop that keeps you stuck in toxic relationships. You'll discover how intermittent reinforcement, emotional highs and lows, and dopamine conditioning trap you without you realizing it. More importantly, you'll learn how this cycle rewires your identity and what it actually takes to break free from it. Most people never realize this, but the reason you keep going back to someone who hurt you is not about weakness, lack of discipline, or even a failure of self-respect. It runs much deeper than that. It is rooted in how your brain is wired to survive, to recognize patterns, and to keep you within what feels familiar. And once you truly understand this, it changes everything. It shifts the way you see your past decisions, your emotions, and even the way you define love itself. If you have ever told yourself, "This is the last time," only to find yourself returning again, then what you are about to hear might completely reshape your perspective. Let's begin with something that may feel uncomfortable to accept, but it is necessary if you want to break free. You are not going back because you are foolish or naive. You are going back because your brain believes it is protecting you. That sounds almost contradictory, because why would your mind lead you back to something that caused pain? But here is the truth that many people overlook. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. Its primary goal is survival, and survival depends on recognizing what is familiar. From a neuroscience standpoint, your brain is constantly scanning your environment for patterns it has seen before. Familiar patterns require less energy to process, and because of that, they feel safer. Even when those patterns involve emotional pain, inconsistency, or instability, your brain still labels them as known and therefore safe. This is why someone can remain stuck in a cycle that clearly hurts them, yet still feel drawn back to it again and again. Now, this becomes even more powerful when you consider your early experiences. If you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, where affection came and went unpredictably, or where emotional connection was tied to stress or tension, your brain adapted to that reality. Over time, those patterns became your definition of what relationships feel like. They became your baseline. So when you meet someone who reflects those same emotional highs and lows, your brain immediately recognizes it. And that recognition creates a sense of comfort. It feels familiar. It feels like something you understand, even if it hurts. This is why healthy relationships can sometimes feel boring or unfamiliar to people who are used to chaos. Stability can feel strange. Consistency can feel unnatural. And unpredictability, even when painful, can feel exciting or emotionally intense. But what feels intense is not always what is good for you. In fact, that intensity is often what keeps the cycle going. And this leads us into one of the most powerful psychological dynamics at play here, something known as trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is not just about being attached to someone who hurt you. It is about the way your brain becomes conditioned through a cycle of pain and reward. You experience hurt, then suddenly there is affection. There is apology, attention, or a moment of closeness. Then the pain returns, followed again by relief. This repeated cycle creates a powerful emotional loop. Psychologists refer to this as intermittent reinforcement, and it is one of the strongest behavioral conditioning mechanisms known. It is the same principle used in gambling. You do not win every time, but the occasional reward keeps you hooked. In relationships, those moments of affection or connection release dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is not just about pleasure, it is about anticipation. It makes you crave the next good moment, even if it comes after emotional pain. Over time, your focus begins to shift. It is no longer just about the other person. It becomes about you and your role in the relationship. You start questioning yourself. You begin to think, maybe if I try harder, things will change. Or if I become more understanding, more patient, more supportive, maybe this will finally work. Without realizing it, your sense of worth starts becoming tied to the idea of being chosen, accepted, or loved by someone who continues to hurt you. This is where the cycle becomes even more dangerous because it slowly reshapes your identity. You begin to measure your value based on how much you can endure, how much you can fix, or how much you can give. Instead of asking whether the relationship is healthy, you start asking what you can do to make it work. And that shift keeps you trapped because you are no longer evaluating the relationship objectively. You are emotionally invested in proving something to yourself. But there is another force working beneath all of this, and it is something that affects almost every human decision: fear. Specifically, the fear of loss. Humans are naturally wired to avoid loss more strongly than they are motivated to pursue gain. This is known as loss aversion. So even when a relationship is painful, your mind convinces you that losing it would hurt even more than staying in. You may tell yourself that you are holding on because of love, but often what is really keeping you there is fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of not finding something better. And because of that fear, you stay in a situation that continues to hurt you simply because it feels safer than the unknown. And this is where things start to shift, because once you begin to understand these patterns, you realize that your behavior is not random. It is not irrational. It is the result of deeply rooted psychological mechanisms that were designed to protect you, but are now keeping you stuck. Now that you understand why you keep going back, the next question becomes even more important. How do you stop? Because awareness, while powerful, is not enough on its own. You can understand the pattern completely and still feel pulled back into it. That is because these patterns are not just logical. They are emotional, neurological, and deeply ingrained. The first shift you need to make is learning to separate intensity from love. This is one of the biggest misconceptions people have. Just because something feels strong, overwhelming, or emotionally consuming does not mean it is love. In many cases, what you are experiencing is emotional dependency, attachment, or even addiction to the highs and lows of the relationship. Real love does not feel like constant confusion. It does not leave you questioning your worth. It does not create anxiety about where you stand. Real love is steady. It is consistent. It brings a sense of calm, not chaos. And for many people, that calmness feels unfamiliar at first because it does not trigger the same emotional spikes they are used to. The second step is breaking the pattern itself, and this is where things become challenging. Breaking the cycle means creating distance, even when it feels uncomfortable. Every time you go back, you reinforce the neural pathways that keep you attached to that person. You strengthen the habit, but every time you resist, you begin to weaken that pattern. At first, this will not feel good. In fact, it may feel worse. You may experience anxiety, restlessness, or even a sense of emptiness. That is because your brain is adjusting to the absence of something it has become used to. But this discomfort is not a sign that you are making the wrong decision. It is a sign that you are breaking the cycle. Think of it like withdrawal. When you remove something your brain has become dependent on, there is an adjustment period. But over time, your brain begins to rewire itself. New patterns form, new definitions of safety and familiarity are created, and slowly, what once felt uncomfortable begins to feel normal. The third and most important step is rebuilding your sense of self. As long as your identity is tied to being chosen by someone else, you will always feel the urge to go back. Because in your mind, their validation becomes a measure of your worth. But the moment you shift that perspective, everything changes. Instead of asking, "Why do they not love me the way I want?" start asking, "Why am I accepting less than I deserve?" That single question has the power to redirect your focus. It moves your attention away from trying to fix them and back to understanding yourself. Rebuilding your identity means defining your own standard. What does healthy love look like to you? What kind of treatment do you accept? And what do you no longer tolerate? These are not just abstract questions. They are the foundation of the relationships you will experience moving forward. It also means learning to sit with your emotions without immediately reacting to them. When you feel the urge to go back, pause. Do not act on impulse. Give yourself time to process what you are feeling. Ask yourself whether this decision is leading you toward peace or back into a familiar cycle of pain. Because that is what this ultimately comes down to. Not just love, but direction. Every choice you make is either moving you toward a healthier, more stable future or pulling you back into a pattern that keeps you stuck. And this is not just about individual relationships. When more people begin to understand these patterns, it has a much larger impact. Healthier relationships lead to better mental health, stronger families, and more stable community. It affects how people work, how they interact, and how they build their lives. On a global level, emotional awareness and psychological growth contribute to more productive, balanced society. So the next time you feel that pull, that urge to return to something you know is not good for you, stop and reflect. Do not let familiarity guide your decision. Let awareness guide it, because the difference between repeating the same cycle and creating a new future often comes down to a single moment of choice. If this gave you a new perspective, take a second to like, share, and subscribe, because understanding your mind is not just powerful, it is life-changing. Now you see the truth. This was never about weakness, it was about conditioning. But awareness gives you control. The next time you feel that pull, pause and choose differently. Choose peace over familiarity. Choose growth over comfort. And if this opened your eye, make sure you subscribe, because understanding your mind is the first step to transforming your entire life.